Good day to you all. Thank you once again for joining us. It's been a while, but we're back. And today we're talking to our ambassadors about failure. Failure. Now, this is something we've all been through or will go through in life at some point. So it's great to hear their thoughts and opinions, as well as getting to know some of our new ambassadors. So thank you once again, and please enjoy this next instalment of the iMedics podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the iMedics podcast. My name is Abs and I'll be your host today.
Hi, I'm Noor. I'm the Vice President of the iMedics Ambassador Programme. I'm an A-level student studying between Saudi and the UK.
Hi, I'm Muneera. I'm from Newcastle and I'm currently on a gap year hoping to study medicine next year.
Hi, my name is Marta and I'm a second year applied medical sciences student at Swansea University.
Hi, my name's Caroline. I'm a fifth year high school student in Scotland and I'm planning to apply to medicine at the end of this year.
Hi, my name is Ira. I'm a year 12 student studying in Manchester and I'm hoping to apply to medicine next year.
Hi, my name is Hassan. I'm a year 13 student applying to medicine this year.
Perfect, thank you very much for your introductions. So let's get started then. So the first thing I'm going to ask is to any two that wants to answer this is, what does failure mean to you?
Okay. I think as like a general thing, it's just like not reaching your expectations. So I think because I'm in high school, usually that's kind of just like a test where usually there'll be like a class average and then sometimes I won't reach the average. So to me, because I've not reached my expectation of getting an A or like passing the average, like I've in a way failed. So kind of just that.
Yeah, Caroline, I totally agree. Same, because for me, I'm also in high school and I haven't really reached a point where I've reached complete failure, and I don't think anyone is able to do that. Failure is more of a mechanism to allow you to be able to achieve whatever you want. I feel as though as soon as someone reaches a point of failure, it's a chance for them to be able to know where to improve on within themselves, and also it's like a sign that you're doing something good, because you can't know if you're doing well unless you've reached a point where you know how to compare your success to, which is always a failure point.
Okay, so I'm a student already, and I think that because in my university it's kind of like different, because it's like undergraduate kind of medical degree, then we have to sit an exam, it's called GAMSAT, to like continue and get into graduate entry medicine. And I think that for many like students now, for myself included, at this stage, you know, it's very difficult to kind of manage to learn for like your modules and at the same time to like study for the exam. And so that like probably the biggest failure that can happen is just, you know, not succeeding, and you know, something that you put a lot of effort into, it just like doesn't end up like you want it to. So I think then it's like just important to remember that, you know, you can always kind of like resit and just try again, and you know, just work on this kind of life-work balance, because otherwise you can, you know, just burn out easily.
Yeah, so failure for me is basically to describe like a personal experience that I had. So I took maths for A-level, for one of my A-level subjects, and what happened was I got really overwhelmed by the jump in like difficulty when studying maths at A-level, and I got a D at the end of year 12, but I needed an A. So I had to resit but I had to sit a different paper, so I learned all of the things I didn't know before. I learned how to apply it to like problem-solving questions, and then I finally got an A when I resat the paper. It was a different paper.
Well, for me, I think a big time where I failed, or think I failed, was when I've only started year 12. So in year 11, before I actually gained like a work ethic, I used to try to revise. I used to watch videos and write notes. And when I actually did the tests, it didn't really work because I didn't retain any information. And I had to actually reevaluate my revision techniques and see what I could have done to actually improve my revision and remember everything. And it took quite a bit of time, but then I realised how to actually revise properly, and I wouldn't have known that unless I failed the first time. So I feel like failure is a chance to actually get up and try again and redeem yourself and make yourself a better person in that sense.
Well, a time where I failed in my career, so I'm currently actually on my gap year, like I said before, so it's meant that I've had to reapply to medicine this year. So you could say that, well, last year I got rejected from medical school 4 times, and that was the first time where I really experienced failure. I guess failing exams, that's different. It doesn't feel like, because you can, for me personally, I think that failing exams is a different kind of failure where you can just learn from your mistakes, and it's a chance to just redo an exam again. Whereas not getting into medical school, which is something that you prepared for your whole, pretty much like a big chunk of your life, you put in so much effort into it, and then not getting in is really, really disheartening. So last year when I didn't get into medical school, it was obviously really, really hard, and something that I had to take my time and reflect over. And then I think reflecting back on my experiences last year, it meant that I decided to take a gap year, and now I've learnt like so much in this year. I've been able to get a job, done lots of volunteering, worked on lots of projects. So I think just being able to reflect in times of failure is a really good and important skill to have.
So obviously you guys are medical students, and me, I'm just a normal guy. So for me, failure is a bit different. I mean, I have failed quite a lot. I'm not gonna deny that. The main thing with me was maths GCSE. I actually failed it 3 times, believe it or not. Obviously, for you guys, it's a bit different. I think it comes a little bit more pressure because you guys are medical students. You know, you need to get A's. But with me, it was more of, I was just upset about where am I gonna go in life. You know, at that time, I never really had a plan. I wasn't really doing anything, you know. So for me, failing as a layperson, it was disheartening. You know, it gets like that. But I just tried again, like you guys said. You know, you live and you learn. You make your mistakes, you learn from it. That's the way I saw it. And obviously, you just start revising more, see how you can, you know, utilize different videos, different tools to help you through it. But like I said, 3 times, and I finally got. Even then, I just scraped a C. But you might be looking at me thinking this guy would never become a doctor. But yeah, it's one of those ones. And I just got another question for you guys. Why do you guys think that you may have reached failure? Like you may have failed in life. What makes you think that?
I think like everyone's kind of just talked about like exams and stuff. So I think kind of comparing yourself to other people, because if I get like, say I got like a B on a test, but I worked really hard and I know I worked hard, but then everyone else got an A, to me I've kind of failed, because it's kind of like, oh, I've not managed to as well as everyone else and I've gotten like this bad score. So even though I was happy with myself at first, when I start looking around at other people and start seeing how other people did, then suddenly it's like I failed. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'd never really count my grades or not achieving a milestone in my life as failure, because that you can always change that and improve on next time. So that isn't really truly failure. I think reaching a point of failure is when I feel like I've reached a sense of hopelessness, or like starting to have a low self-esteem. When I compare myself to others, that's when I know personally for me that it's all about changing my perspective. It's never about I have failed, more like, why do I think that this situation may have happened to me? And personally, I think it's really important that everyone feels these like emotions, because if you don't, then you'd not be able to improve and you can't become a better person.
Yeah, I think I agree with what was said previously, that like failure is kind of subjective. So usually we like interpret it as like something that didn't go according to our like very personal plan. But as long as like we've got something planned for the future, even though it's different than like what we thought previously, then like it's kind of learning from the failure. So like it was obviously something that didn't end up as we wanted to, but still, you know, we can like change it and just do better in the future.
I think that I reached failure because at the time Corona had just not ended, but schools had opened because they'd been closed for about nearly a year, and because there was nothing really to actually see, anything else to see as failure from my perspective at the time, the only thing I had like going for me was those tests, because I didn't know if we were going to end up closing schools again, and our grades were going to be based on those tests. So when I got those grades back, I just didn't feel as accomplished as I thought I would, and so I feel like that to me felt like failure, because as someone as young as like 15, 16, you don't really have much to actually think of as failure in my perspective anyways, if you have a similar upbringing to everyone else, where you just go to high school and then college. So I feel like that's why it seemed like failure at the time. But when you grow older, you realise it was more of a learning experience rather than something that you failed at. Because if you see it as failure, then you're not. If you see that failure, failure usually like just you always can debrief and reflect from that and learn more from it. So either way, failure is always an advantage rather than a disadvantage at the end of the day.
Well, for me, the time that I knew that I definitely failed was when I didn't get into med school. Like, I saw all my other friends, my peers in school getting into, you know, the universities of their choice, even if it wasn't for medicine, if it was for another course. And I was genuinely one of the only girls in school, one of the only people in school who hadn't got a seat into a course at university, and that it was so disheartening. And I think just comparing yourself to other people, that's something that is really bad, but it can make you seem like you're a failure and that you failed. Comparing your achievements to other people is, you know, not the way to go. I think I read a quote the other day, actually. It was I was reading a book, and it was that rejection is redirection and failure is another chance to try again. So I think that's something that stuck by me a lot. It's about having the resilience to be able to cope with failure, and having mechanisms in place to cope with those failures that you're going to experience in your life, which is, failure is inevitable. It will happen regardless of how big it is, how small it is. And I think the most important thing is to not make it personal and not compare yourself to other people as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think to grow as a person, you should learn and focus on yourself instead of others. I think that's a very important thing that Muneera mentioned, that people should, I think, focus on themselves only, because failure can make you grow as a person. It can also be a downward spiral if you just compare yourself all the time, because you will never be as good as someone else. that you think like is better than you, but in other aspects they might not be better than you at dealing with other things as well. So you should focus on yourself and grow by overcoming obstacles.
No, I fully agree with what you guys said, especially what you said, Muneera, about not comparing yourself to other people, because obviously where I come from, everybody starts comparing themselves to everybody. Especially I'm from an Asian background, so some of you might know, Asians love to compare themselves to other people. I see you, Hassan, cheering there, and that's one thing from me as well. One thing when I did start thinking, I'm a failure, this, that, when I started failing stuff, was when I started looking at other people and thinking, these people are getting somewhere, they're getting good jobs and this, that, why am I not getting there? That's when I thought I was a failure. But then I completely changed my mindset. I thought, you know what, from failure now, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use that as my motivation, and then I'm going to get, I'm going to start making better steps to go put myself forward, and I can go get them jobs and I can go not be a failure, So I just took it as a learning point. And obviously, as you guys said, like I think Muneera mentioned it, that you take failure as a way to learn. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly what I think other people should do as well, and not compare themselves to everybody else. But as we finish that topic, we'll just swiftly move on. So personally, as obviously you guys are medical students and that, like, how do you cope with it? How do you cope with failure on a personal level? What do you guys do to, relax yourselves and try and relieve that stress that, I'm a failure, this, that? So...
I think personally, I just try harder in a sense, because, as long as, I don't know if this will make sense, but if I try really hard and do something, it could be even if I failed, I've still tried really hard to do this, and I can build on it as well. So I think just doing things like my school does, these supported study sessions where basically you just go after school and you can meet with a teacher and then just do your work there. So I think kind of just prioritizing the things I want to get better at, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, my school has something similar. I'm in an online school, but we have this thing called office hours. So we can basically book an appointment with our teacher at any given point and just talk to them, and they'll help you rationalize your thoughts and go through the topics, and then it becomes a lot easier. When I cope with failure that's not to do with education, I first take a step back and regather my thoughts, and then usually I'd go to the gym or go on a walk and just let it all out, and then later I'd call a friend and they'll definitely help me realize that I'm definitely overthinking the situation and it's not even that deep. And that's pretty much it. What else do you guys do?
So I think that after my failure on any field, I just take some time to just, do something without feeling guilty about it. So I just sometimes lie in bed for half a day with my TV series and just, try to think about something else. Because I know that I wouldn't be making any rational decision at this point, because I would be just too overwhelmed by all the thoughts about the thing that just happened. And then probably the next day I just try to replan and just try again, basically.
Same with me, in the sense that I just start overthinking everything for a couple hours, and then after that I try to remember to forgive myself and not to dwell on the situation, and realise that it's completely normal to not get things right the first time, and therefore to give myself the benefit of the doubt and realise you can't be perfect at everything the first time. Sometimes there might be times where you will get it right, but most of the time that's not the case. And so the only thing you can do is debrief and reflect on the way you handled the situation or the task, and realise what what went wrong and what could have gone differently, to prevent that from happening again.
Yeah, I think like Marta was saying before, it's when I fail, I think it's perfectly fine and understandable to cry about it and to grieve about it, at least for a short period of time. Like, it's okay to experience those emotions, and it's perfectly normal too. I think when I first got rejected from medical school, so during last year, I think I took that a bit too far and I grieved a bit too much. I laid in bed for far too many weeks, and I didn't attend school for a few weeks as well because I was that upset by it. And I think that is dangerous. I think there's a point where, you know, grieving and things shouldn't really be impacting your mental health really, really badly. So it's important to grieve, but then talk to your family and friends. That's something that's really important, something that's helped me as well. Talking to your family and friends is really helpful, and even talk to others who are in similar situations to you, getting their, you know, listening to them about how they coped with their situations and what they did, is something that really helped me as well. I think developing realistic thoughts about failure as well. So if you failed, and it's not even that deep, I think it's really important to just have realistic mindset and not far-fetch anything too much. Again, I think it's fine to grieve and things, but have support systems in place. So have your support networks. If that's hobbies, if that's something you enjoy, so I enjoy baking, it's something I do quite a lot to help relieve some of that stress. Or talk to your family and friends is something that's really helped me cope with my failures in my life.
Oh, so yeah, to deal with failure, me personally, to be honest, I haven't really done anything that's like a one-time thing that you fail at, that's it, that's over. But even if that were to occur, my mentality is that say you fail at something, maybe it was you were never supposed to have that. That's my mentality. I don't overthink. I'm the opposite of you guys. I don't overthink about it. If I fail at something that's a one-time thing, I just get over it. I'm like, maybe it wasn't supposed to happen, so I just focus on the next thing.
You know what? There's some interesting things you guys said about how to overcome stuff, and I think some of them things I'm going to implement myself as well, because, I mean, obviously I failed at a lot of stuff. Now I'm here, so I'm all right. But I tend to just keep everything bottled up. You know, I'm that kind of guy. I don't really talk to anyone. You know, I don't let anybody know what I'm feeling, whatever. But that's one thing I'm struggling on. So I think, you know, you guys obviously gave me the advice as well. You gave everybody else advice. You do need to go and you do need to find somebody to talk to. And I think I've just realized that today as well. But, you know, with me coping with failure, I've just used it as a, you know, leverage just to go do better. Because obviously me looking, I know I can do better, and I know I've got it in me to do better, and that's the kind of mindset that I've got. But even generally, you know, I don't really tend to talk about stuff, but I do need to get out there. And everybody else, there's a lot of people like me, you know, like you guys said, there's a lot of people that don't talk about what they're feeling. They don't talk about their failures. They don't talk about anything. You know, they need to go get out there. They need to find somebody that, you know, can help them, because there is help out there. We just need to find it. But now, you know, it's bringing me back memories, so we'll get off the failures and that. Let's talk about success. Now, what success is like to you. You know, what's your biggest achievement, either if it's academic or personal? So.
I think success for me is kind of just like achieving my goals. I think I said at the start, but I thought failure was like not being able to reach my expectations, so kind of like the opposite of that. And I think the biggest achievement that I've had was last year I got O's in my exams, which I think with lockdown and everything going on then, that was hard. And I think just being a teenager during a pandemic and trying to cope with like school and stuff, but still being able to get good grades, I think that's my biggest achievement.
That's amazing. For me, I last year for my GCSEs, I got all 9s and I think 2 8s. and during a pandemic that was like really difficult, and I still managed to do work experience at the same time. So I think that's my biggest achievement. Also, becoming the vice president of the iMedics ambassadors, that was something else as well. Yeah.
So I think I'm going to talk about like two kinds of successes, because one is more like expected, and I think that it was a success because as you guys, like, we all worked to get it. So it wasn't like A levels, it was like equivalent of A levels, but I was like really happy about how I did, and thanks to that I like managed to get into the my course. So yeah, so it was really good. But like the second kind of success, I think, was, you know, I wasn't expecting that I will manage to kind of cope with a difficult situation, but like I managed. So it was when I was diving for the first time, and actually it was like the last time as well, but I'm pretty sure I would do it again. So, and you know, I kind of panicked in the beginning, but then, you know, I just realized that I can do it. So I felt really good about it, and I think this kind of little successes that we all can have in like everyday life as well, when, you know, just, you know, something happens and it proves to us that we can do something, it's really, really important to like just remember about it and focus on it and just, you know, be happy about it.
Mine's pretty similar to Caroline's in the sense that being a student in Corona and actually trying to keep on top of your mental health, physical health, because in Corona you had no reason not to just sit there and do nothing, because no one was telling you to do anything. Right at that point in time there was no online lessons, and so it was really hard to actually keep on top of yourself and try to make sure you don't just dig yourself into a deep hole and just sit there for ages. And so I think one of my biggest successes is just making sure that I didn't do that to myself, because I feel like that's really easy to do, especially since you're a kid and you have no other responsibilities. And so, yeah, I think that was my biggest success.
Well, actually, I think my biggest successes have come this year. So after I failed, after I didn't get into med school. So during my gap year this year, I've been able to do like so much things that I would never have done before if I didn't take a gap year. So, for example, I've done a lot of volunteering. I volunteer in a hospice where I look after palliative and non-palliative patients, and that's just really rewarding. You know, talking to patients who are end of life and just being there for them is just one of the most rewarding things ever, and you just feel so good about yourself. I think also I've done a lot of projects like helping, you know, homeless individuals and people who are hungry in the community in the West End of Newcastle and holding projects with like food banks and things, cooking food for the homeless. So using my, you know, cooking skills and baking skills and helping the community in that sense. I've also this year I've managed to get a job as a healthcare assistant at a hospital, which I think has definitely been a success, and it just goes to show that because I failed and didn't get into medical school the first time, and taking a year out to reapply, it just allowed for these successes to happen which otherwise wouldn't have happened. It just goes to show that failure and success, they're intertwined. It's like a big sort of wheel, and you don't just fail in life and then never fail again and then successes continue. I think while you're experiencing success, you're also experiencing failure at the same time. So yeah, that's been my successes this year.
I think my successes are going to be a little bit different to yours. Yeah. Academically, you know, at least I passed. You know, that was me. You know, coming from where I am, at least I passed. It's better than a lot of people that were around me at the time. But you know, personally, I think you guys are going to think I'm showing off here, but I actually got an award from the police for stopping a robbery on Folesy Road in Coventry. And which is a guy had a hammer, he was robbing a G4S security guard. So I intervened and I got an award from the police, and I'm on the Coventry Telegraph and the Birmingham Telegraph. And that was my biggest achievement. And also, you know, my biggest achievement as well was first climbing Mount Snowdon. That was one achievement that I did. But other than that, my achievements aren't as, you know, detailed as your guys is, because obviously you got more, academically, personally, stuff like that. And as we move on, so we're going to talk about the misconceptions of failure. So what kind of misconceptions are there? What do people not understand about it?
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that failure is a barrier, and it really isn't. It's more like a stepping stone instead, to see the brighter side, or to help you get bigger things in life than you never would have expected before.
Well, another misconception or myth of failure, I think, is that it's objective. Failure isn't objective. It can be influenced by personal feelings, and I think that's really important to take into account. What I might consider failure is not the same as what someone else might consider what failure is, so it's definitely influenced by personal feelings. Again, it's is it the size of the problem, or you just criticism from your peers? They all determine failure in your eyes, and failure is different to everyone. It's not the same. Again, setbacks aren't failures. There's that saying where 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. That is still progress. It's not failure. So failure is different in everyone's eyes, and it's not objective.
I think, one, it's kind of what was just said about failure being more of a process rather than just you've failed something, you're going to try, and then you'll be great at it. It's something that you need to keep doing and doing and doing again. And I think I think it's the same as failure being different to everyone. It makes you feel quite isolated if you're failing at something, but everyone else is being amazing at it. So then it's kind of understanding that other people are failing at things as well, just maybe not the same things.
So for me, probably one of the misconceptions is that we think that when we fail, then we have to improve it. And it is true as long as we're feeling improving it. But what I want to say is that it's also okay to just change your plans based on the failure and just, try something a bit different or something new, which we think might be better.
I think one of the misconceptions of failure is that it's a bad thing. I feel as if, in my opinion, someone who's failed 1 million times is better than someone who's never failed, as it shows you've tried and shows your perseverance, and that you have the determination to get up and try again, which is really hard. I feel like it's harder to fail than to actually get up and try again, because it takes so much out of you, because you think you can't do it again, and it digs you into some deep hole thinking you're just going to fail again and again and again, when really that's not the case. And it also shows that you don't take the easy route into things, and that you actually try and challenge yourself.
Right, I think that wraps everything up. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Hello, ladies and gentlemen. A surprise visit from Professor Iomedicus here, just wishing you all a very, very happy new year, and wanted to say a big thank you for listening to this latest instalment of the Iomedic podcast series. These will be coming out more frequently now, and we hope to gain your attention and support as we continue through this journey together. Wonderful stuff. Thank you once again. Goodbye.